Should you watch Snow White in theaters? If you're a kid watching this review, then kid, you're gonna love it. But if you're a paying adult, then probably not. This movie sucked. I'm René and I like to talk about movies, not deep dive, not overanalyze, just straight up surface level thoughts for the everyday movie fan. Snow White is Disney's latest live action remake, and it's exactly what you expect it to be. A sometimes colorful musical reimagining of the classic cartoon fairy tale. Before I get into the nasty, I want to talk about the positive things here. It's fun and joyous in like a kid-friendly way. The animal companions are honestly really adorable, and Rachel Zegler did a pretty good job as Snow White. Look, the girl can sing, and she played the role to the best of her capabilities. Like, was she meant to play the role of Snow White? Probably not, but that's not really her fault. That's the casting director's fault. She did what she could with the role. I just don't think that she was the perfect fit for this character, especially considering that this is like one of the OG like Disney princesses. Not to mention all the controversy and drama surrounding that actor and the whole thing around this movie. It's kind of ridiculous. On the flip side, though, Gal Gadot's performance as the evil queen was not good. The CGI was really inconsistent. Some moments looked pretty good, while others were just kind of like, you know, the set designs and the costumes were just, honestly, they sucked. I mean, it felt like you were watching two different movies that got like stitched together last minute. There's a scene where like the world looks like super fantastical, and then literally the scene right after that, all the magic is gone and it looks like they just found a random forest and just hit record. The story itself is pretty brain dead, with plot points that were just kind of mushed together and hurried up, and the characters were just extremely undercooked, especially the bandits. Like, why were they even in the movie at all? Oh, and the musical numbers, the classics were fine. Everyone's gonna love those, but all of the new songs were just not very good. Like, I don't think anyone's gonna remember any of them. I feel like they threw in new songs just for the sake of it, like just to sell an album. I definitely rolled my eyes a few times whenever a musical part was about to come up. Overall, I think this movie was strictly for kids. I think a lot of the issues with this movie could be ignored, but you got to keep in mind that this is Disney. They are one of the world's largest film production companies. Honestly, the biggest issue is knowing how much money and talent was put into this movie. How is it possible that the entire thing feels so rushed and so cheap and so like put together last minute? With that said, I went into this movie expecting not to like it, and I ended up not hating it. Look, it's not a good movie, but kids in my theater were having a good time, and honestly, that's kind of all that matters because that is their target demographic. And honestly, there were some heartfelt and cute moments in the movie, so it's not like a complete waste of time. But as an adult audience member, this movie was just messy, and it was cheesy, and it was honestly just easily forgettable. I originally gave this movie a 6.5 on my first impressions video, but after kind of sitting on it for a little while, I think I'm gonna move this down to a 5.5. It's not the worst movie ever, and it's definitely not the worst movie of 2025. Sorry, Dave Bautista, I don't know what that movie was. If you're someone that's curious about the movie but don't want to spend the money on the ticket, then I would say just wait for the movie to drop on Disney+. I do think the movie's a little overhated for the wrong reasons, except for Gal Gadot because her parts were pretty bad. But if you're into silly, fun movies, or maybe you're really into Disney stuff, then hey, you're probably gonna like this one. Just do not expect anything resembling greatness here because this movie is far from it. It was a fun time if you kind of turn off your brain and don't expect anything good out of it. I know that sounds harsh, but when you go into movies like this that are, you know, essentially made for children, like you can't really expect like a whole lot of anything. Like if I go into a Christopher Nolan movie expecting greatness, it's because that's what he delivers. But this is a kid's cartoon that was reimagined into live action. And as we know, because everybody gets scared of their favorite movie turning into a live action movie, this is one of those cases where that live action movie was just not great. The issues with Snow White is more on a filmmaking technical level. Like there's a lot of stuff with like the lighting and the set design and the costumes. And yeah, some of the acting is not the best, but the main parts of the movie, I mean, they got what they needed to make a decent remake for kids. Rachel Zegler, again, her singing is pretty awesome in my opinion. Like she is a great singer. The acting in this movie was kind of overplayed, a little over the top. It was almost theatrical in a way where it was overdressed, if that makes sense. Acting in general is supposed to make you feel like you're in a believable setting versus this movie is where everything is kind of like a fairy tale. It's very over the top. It's very theatrical. It's very dramatic in the same way that like a high school theater play should be. And if that's the direction that the actors were given, then really you can't fault them for that. You know, that's at that point, it's either the studio, the director, or whoever wrote the movie or whatever. And as always, watch movies, form your own opinions, and I'll see you on the next one.